During the 1960s and 1970s, our young people were burning their draft cards in campuses, rebelling against family values. Marriage was out, living arrangements were in. Abortion was in vogue, legalized. Patriotism, a bad word. The military was in shambles. And needless to say, the economy seemed to be hopeless. It's different now. We're not everything we would like to be, but any casual observer could say with assurance, things are different now. And I would say that two men, more than anyone else, humanly speaking, have been responsible. In tandem, working together closely, Ronald Reagan and George Bush. I appreciate both of them. The attitude of the FCC has been radically changed the last 7 years. It is no longer anti-broadcasting, but rather it is neutral and fair, and we appreciate that very much. The Federal Judiciary, by the end of this 8th year, 52% of all the federal judges sitting at the district and appellate levels will have been appointed by this administration. I repeat, I think we have a great deal of debt to the two men who will be addressing this convention this week. And these 7 years have been very wonderful years for our country, and especially for us as Christian broadcasters. And we're here tonight to say thank you to Vice President George Bush for the role that he has played. I think it is, when you look at his position, a pro-life one, on the dignity of unborn life, his commitment to the Reagan agenda, his clear commitment to the continuation of the Reagan Revolution. It is good to know that perhaps this time next year he will be President George Bush. Leave that as it may, ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States and Mrs. Bush.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Jerry, thank you. Please be seated. And Jerry, thank you very much for that warm and generous introduction. I'm just delighted to be back for this reunion.
Would the Honorable George Bush please join the founder of Liberty University? On January the 20th, 1989, George Herbert Walker Bush was sworn in as the 41st President of the United States. Mr. Bush was born in Milton, Massachusetts on June 12, 1924. He graduated from Phillips Academy, Andover, Massachusetts in June 1942. And on his 18th birthday, he enlisted in the United States Navy. Receiving his wings and commission while still 18, Mr. Bush became the youngest pilot in the United States Navy at that time. While on active duty from August 1942 through September 1945, fighting in the Pacific Theater, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and 3 Air Medals. When the war ended, he entered Yale University, completed his economics degree in 1948, graduated Phi Beta Kappa, and captained the varsity baseball team. From 1948 through 1953, Mr. Bush co-founded several business enterprises, primarily in experimental offshore drilling equipment. Between the years of 1966 through 1976, Mr. Bush held several roles, including being elected twice to the United States House of Representatives from the state of Texas, United States Ambassador to the United Nations, Chairman of the Republican National Committee, Chief of the United States Liaison Officer in the People's Republic of China, and Director of Central Intelligence. On January the 20th, 1981, Mr. Bush was sworn in as the 43rd Vice President of the United States. And on January the 20th, 1985, he was sworn in as the Vice President for a second term. He is married to the former Barbara Pierce of Rye, New York. They are the parents of 5 children. The Bushes have 10 grandchildren. Throughout the history of America, certain ideas, the essence of Americanism, had distinguished America from other nations and made her great. The spirit of America was bought for us by men with a burning vision of a nation free under God, men who were firm in the declaration of truth and in the true spirit of statesmanship. President George Bush is one of these men. His insight into the issues of the day marks him as a man of perception and thought. He constantly urges the United States to meet current problems in the light of the principles upon which our country was founded. In his support of the fundamentals and principles of freedom is a personification of Americanism. Mr. Bush and Mr. President, because of your faithful years of service to the United States of America, because you exemplify the best elements of Americanism, and because of your firm declaration of truth, Liberty University confers upon you the Honorary Doctor of Humanities degree.
Graduate of Liberty, huh? Amen. We have heard from our President, Dr. Gillerman, the information that would tell us and any fair-minded person that no president has ever been better prepared to enter his first term of office than George Bush. And needless to say, though this may be premature, just think how much better prepared he will be for his second term. There's no need to repeat all of the accolades that our president has already given of Mr. Bush. I would like to take another approach. This, Mr. President, is an evangelical Christian audience coming here as a part of Liberty University's commencement exercise, a Bible-believing, Christ-honoring university. And I thought that perhaps in introducing the President briefly, I would go down another route. Yesterday, across America in many newspapers, a syndicated columnist who's here today, Cal Thomas, wrote an article entitled Barbara Bush, America's Role Model. I think Cal is here. Where are you, Cal? Is Cal Thomas in the audience? Where? Right over here. Okay. I was talking about Cal Thomas to Mr. Bush when he was vice president in his office one day, and he referred to you as the mighty Cal. I'd never thought of you that way, but he did, and we appreciated the article, Cal, because you talked about this First Lady's dignity, humility, love, compassion, her family priorities. My wife was at one of her first meetings after her husband was sworn in as president, and she walked on stage with hundreds of ladies there and said, "What you see is what you get." And I think that is what she has said to us a few thousand times since then, and we like what we see. I realize that Barbara Bush is not the speaker today, but in spite of the opinions of some, we think the couple happens to be inseparable, and they help each other to the top. Both are role models. Our president is a family man. And Mr. President, America has enjoyed watching you love your children and being loved by them. playing with your grandchildren and considering them your priority. We've appreciated your fairness, dealing with friends and foes alike, not just in the Congress, but around the world. We've appreciated your strength. We appreciated Panama and what you did there. We appreciate your vision, Mr. President, a Christian man with a vision of a world of freedom and democracy, and a man who realizes that the biblical statement, the powers that be are ordained of God, is to be believed, and that the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he, our King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jesus Christ, turns it whithersoever he will. A man who believes in a commitment to family values, who believes that adoption is a better idea than abortion. We appreciate that. We appreciate your conviction that daycare should involve the choice of Christian families as well, selecting where their children shall be cared for, not just in secular schools of learning, and we appreciate your position on that. And we appreciate very much also, Mr. President, all of the role modeling that you have done since you've been president and since the communist world has so dramatically collapsed, unbelievably collapsed, in leading us on to peace and freedom and a world community that does not violate our own distinctives. We'd like to say to you, Mr. President, for all of those things and many more, we admire and respect you, the President of the United States.
Thank you all very much. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that warm welcome to Liberty. Thank you so much. And to all of you who were done medium well or medium well done up here in the stands, I'll try not to keep you too long. But I am delighted to be here, and to Dr. and Mrs. Falwell, thank you for your hospitality. Jerry, I'm glad to have been introduced by a loyal friend. Thank you very much, sir.
Now it is my privilege to introduce today's keynote speaker, Governor Jeb Bush. Mark DeMoss, a former classmate of mine at LU and member of our Board of Trustees, contacted me in December about having Governor Bush address our graduates. Now, thanks to Mark, Liberty has been named by TotalSororityMove.com as one of the 20 schools with the coolest graduation speakers of 2015. Governor, you were joined on that list by Bill Nye the Science Guy, Flo the Progressive Insurance Commercial Girl, Matthew McConaughey, Denzel Washington, Natalie Portman, the President and Mrs. Obama, your brother, George W. Bush, Condoleezza Rice, Stephen Corbett, Katie Couric, Arianna Huffington, and Anthony Hopkins, among others. And you are not the first Bush to speak at our commencement. We were honored to have your father address our graduates 25 years ago this week when he was President of the United States. Governor, please tell your mother that I still don't believe we've had enough Bushes speak here at Liberty. My family has cherished the warm relationship our family has cherished the warm relationship we've shared with the Bush family over the decades. The picture of my parents in front of the Marine One helicopter when President Bush spoke at Liberty still hangs in a prominent place in my father's former office. I have fond memories of visiting with President George H.W. Bush immediately after he jumped out of an airplane on his 80th birthday. That's the second picture. But after graduating from the University of Texas with a degree in Latin American studies, Jeb Bush moved to Florida to pursue a career in real estate development. In 1998, he was elected the 43rd governor of Florida and was the first two-term Republican to hold that office. During his tenure, he cut nearly $20 billion in taxes, vetoed more than $2.3 billion in earmarks, and created 1.3 million jobs. A recent article in Time magazine reported that, quote, Jeb spent 4 years visiting more than 250 schools in Florida, almost always without staff or press in tow, and kept a journal of his encounters. Once in office, Bush set to reshaping Florida into a model of conservative governance. He pioneered stand your ground gun laws, slashed taxes, and battled the state's public sector unions. Bush promoted school choice. He whittled away at the state's sprawling bureaucracy, privatizing everything from prison meals to the Florida Human Resources Department. He convened a special session to pass legislation restoring the feeding tube of Terri Schiavo over the objections of her husband. That brawl made him a hero to the Right to Life movement. The Time article continued that, quote, Jeb is not one of those guys who wants or needs to be loved. He knew what he wanted, promoted it aggressively, and rarely lost. Part of the reason was the sheer amount of time that Bush spent hunched over his laptop. I can relate to that. As governor, Bush sent so many emails that his official portrait hanging in the governor's mansion includes his BlackBerry in its cradle. Time continued that, quote, Jeb's email record draws a portrait of a leader who rose early, stayed late, and relished the minutiae most governors delegate. He devoted about 30 hours each week to thanking well-wishers, soliciting policy ideas, and even sparring with hecklers. Jeb Bush has always been more substance than style, and Governor, I think any of us would take that as the ultimate compliment. Governor Bush and his wife of 41 years, Columba, have 3 grown children and 4 grandchildren. In addition to his many great achievements, he hails from one of the great families of American history. I ask that the Provost and Governor Bush join me at the platform. In recognition of Governor Jeb Bush's contribution to our nation and an acknowledgement of his camaraderie in the fight to preserve the values upon which this nation was founded, with the power vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Liberty University, the Doctorate of Humanities is hereby conferred upon Governor Jeb Bush with all the rights and privileges appertaining thereunto. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our 2015 commencement speaker, Governor Jeb Bush.
Thank you very much, President Falwell. Trustees, faculty and staff, distinguished guests, parents and friends, I appreciate your kind hospitality. And to all of the graduates, thank you for letting me share in this wonderful day as you become proud alumni of Liberty University. It's so good to be here and especially visit with the Falwell family. My dad thought very highly of your father, President Falwell, and he knew him as a loyal friend. Jerry Falwell had a gift for friendship.
I was asked by a very talented reporter in another state 2 weeks ago, a reporter who happened to be Jewish, what do you Christians have against the ACLU? I said, well, you need to understand that we Christians, Bible-believing Christians, think of the ACLU in the same way that you Jews think of the Nazis. Something to be avoided. Somebody who's out to get us.
This is the first time that we've been attacked on our soil. First time, and by far, the worst results. And I fear, as Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said yesterday, that this is only the beginning, and with biological warfare available to these monsters, the Husseins, the Bin Ladens, the Arafats, what we saw on Tuesday, as terrible as it is, could be minuscule if in fact God continues to lift the curtain and allow the enemies of America to give us probably what we deserve.
Well, Jerry, that's my feeling. I think we've just seen the antechamber to terror. We haven't even begun to see what they can do to the major population.
The ACLU's got to take a lot of blame for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I'll hear from them for this, but throwing God, or successfully with the help of the federal court system, yes, throwing God out of the public square, out of the schools. The abortionists have got to bear some burden for this, because God will not be mocked, and when we destroy 40 million little innocent babies, we make God mad. I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, the ACLU, People for the American Way, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
When Jerry Falwell goes to McDonald's, he orders
either 2 Big Macs, a large Pepsi. Some places don't have Pepsi, and I forget how to take it.
What kind of car do you drive?
A 4-wheel drive GMC Sierra Classic is a truck.
How do you take your coffee?
Black.
I drink a lot of coffee.
I've always thought if more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walk in and kill it. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to encourage all of you to get your permit. We offer a free course, and let's teach them a lesson if they ever show up here. If more good people had concealed carry permits, then we could end those Muslims before they walk in and kill it. Let's teach them a lesson if they ever show up here.
Why not?
I don't think we need any more holidays.
Why not a Martin Luther King Day?
I just feel that there are other black Americans and the corporate body of black Americans who are due honor more than one recent individual about whom there's a great question mark even to this moment.
What is the question mark?
The question mark is that so far all the records on him are sealed. And neither you, Tom, nor I really know what they're going to say.
Are you talking about his personal character,
yes,
and his personal morality, and his personal life,
and he may
as well as any connection?
He may be as clean as Billy Graham, but we don't know that because the records are sealed.